type of murder don't need no hook.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I am BJ Kicks, and welcome to the Hangout. This is a live stream I do once a week. We are back at our regular day and time, Thursdays at 7 p.m. And this is kind of the first episode in a new format that we're using for the Hangout. 1 second, I feel like it's a little bit dark in here. Let's brighten that up a little bit. I think that's better. That's better. So yes, this is the Hangout show we do every week live. So if you're watching on the replay, thank you. And if you're here in the chat, go ahead and let me know what you're reading this week. I got a few early comments here. Bubble Bunk Master B was here early, camping out for a good spot. I thought he would be resting up after the Wu-Tang concert. Anthony St. Cyr says, interesting. I get it because it's a word that sounds like a different word. Carson says, let's see if I can watch this, listen to the wife, and watch pregame football at the same time. That's a lot of things to do, sir. Good luck. Bookmaster B says, doesn't need a hook. Got it. Yo, Mystery Dave's here. What is up, Mystery Dave? John Smith says, what's up? Mystery Dave is watching or reading Righteous Thirst. Is that Righteous Thirst for Vengeance? That's a cool name for a book, but I haven't read it. Hey, Mr. Kicks. What's up, Kev? Kevin Koss, one of our great moderators over in the K-Squad on Facebook. Mary's here. Mentor Prizes is here. John Smith is here. Aku is here. Oh, dang, you guys are moving stuff. Let's see. Bunkmaster V with the ultimate truth here says, I'd love to be resting, but I got kids. I can't rest if they're not. Ain't that the truth? Squeak has had like a cold or something. We thought it was just like a little stomach bug when it started last Friday. And since it is like morphed into like just straight up just nastiness. And all week we have been up. It's been a crazy week. But she's on the mend. She's not 100%. She's going to miss daycare tomorrow still. But I think by Monday, she'll be all good. Going to try and catch up on 8 Billion Genies. And Keith says he's just picked up the Joe Golem Omnibus from Dark Horse by Mike Mignola of Hellboy fame. Very cool. Aku says, forget football. Rings of Power, baby. Yo, so I went downstairs the other day. This was Monday. I think it was Monday because we were off work. And my wife was trying to watch Rings of Power. And she literally restarted episode 2 at least 4 times while I was sitting there with her. It's so difficult to try to like do anything with a toddler in your house. Same here, man. First week of preschool, she got the black lung. Yeah, like Squeak is in a 3-day program. She's only there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. She goes Monday, she goes Wednesday, and comes home sick Friday. Crazy. Preschools are just freaking cesspools, clearly. Tim Sheeran's here. How's it going? What's up, Tim? What's up? But yeah, so I was saying this is like the first in a new sort of format for the Hangout. If you've been following these live streams for the last few weeks, you know that the channel's going through a bit of a change. As I'm buying less, there are less unboxing videos going up on the channel. And so the plan is to, I'm going to make fewer videos, but my plan is to make those videos count, kind of up the production quality on those. But they're going to be more like video essays and like character deep dives and things like that. And as far as topical stuff, we're going to do that here on the Hangout. So we got a few segments I'm fleshing out still. I got them written down over here. But tonight we are going to talk about a topic that I don't know that I'd say it's near and dear to my heart, but it's a news story that I came across regarding a popular Marvel artist. And I usually try to stay away from stuff like this, but I just felt compelled to speak on it. So we're going to talk about gatekeeping in comics. But first, we got a few other things I want to do. So I'm excited, very excited. But thank you guys for being here. Before we go any further, I do have to give a huge shout out to our channel sponsor, and that is Organic Price Books. Now, Organic Price Books, they are the best place to look for collected editions. So if you're like me and you can't keep up with single issues every single week, then you should go the collected editions route. And Organic Price Books has the best prices, customer service, and shipping when it comes to those collected editions. So you can save $2 on every order if you use my coupon code BJKicks. If you're just spending a whole bunch, then if you're buying 3 books or more at a time, you can use the code BJKicks, ship it together. You'll save 5% on your orders, and they'll ship in one convenient package. And that's the plug. So thank you so much to JP and the whole team at Organic Price Books for helping to make content on this channel possible. So now that that's out of the way, what are we doing? What's the first segment on the show? I haven't quite decided what order these segments are going to go in. So give me a second. All right, so here's what we can do. We can do some comic news, and then I'm going to get into my review of. Actually, no, I'm going to do it first. So the first segment on the Hangout, officially, the review of the week. So you guys know, if you watch the channel, I do a series called What I'm Getting, where every week I tell you what books I'm buying on this upcoming new comic book day. I tell you what I'm most excited for, what's on the chopping block, what's on the maybe list, and so on. This week, the book I was most excited to get to was Batman issue 127 by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez. Don't worry, this is a spoiler-free review. But man, I was most excited for this, and spoiler alert, I haven't read any of the other books this week. I only read this one. I don't know if anything's going to top this, though. So if you've been following me, you know that, or if you've been following this story, you know that Bruce Wayne has been mentally challenged in a very interesting way. And this book has callbacks to Grant Morrison's Batman R.I.P. storyline. And without spoiling the events of the last 2 issues, what I will say is something really interesting happened. And basically, there's something that happened in issue 1 that I won't spoil, but hopefully you'll go out, you'll read it, right? And that event has Gotham looking at Batman a certain way. And because of the way Gotham is looking at Batman, because of how Batman's looking, we find out that Batman, we got a new villain, by the way. And we got a new villain, and we find out that Batman I guess it's not really a villain, but we find out that Batman created a robot to stop himself if ever he were to go rogue. And so this robot comes and is just like an ultimate threat. This issue is pretty much like all action, but I think what's dope about it is just the way it's executed. And it's so difficult for me to talk about this without spoiling it. So maybe in the future, these won't be spoiler-free reviews, but I'm going to try to keep them spoiler-free. My rule is I don't spoil anything the week of release. So, but basically what we find out, we get a nice callback. And this story is basically about the measures that Batman takes. Like at one point, there's a joke, and I'll just read this line of dialogue from Tim Drake, and that's as detailed as I'm going to get. But Tim basically says, of course, yes. He says, of course, Bruce created a contingency backup who created a contingency plan. So basically, this robot created by Batman, specifically to stop Batman, knows all of Batman's tricks. So, should be the most formidable opponent we've seen so far. And we're trying to figure out, okay, how are they going to stop him? In earlier issues, we've seen like a lot of the Bat family try to stop this robot to varying levels of success. And, we're desperate at this point to try to stop this new threat to the Bat family. What I love about this issue is how much or how much more in depth we get between like Bruce Wayne and his mind. Like I think that's one of the greater things about the Batman mythos is Bruce Wayne is supposed to be super mentally tough, but we see how difficult it is for him to balance the Bruce Wayne and Batman personalities. We're seeing that in a story like this one, but we also have seen it in the past with the Grant Morrison Batman run. We've seen it in the past with Batman Ego by Darwin Cook. Um, Look, we're just at the beginning of this story. We're just at the beginning of this run. This is only the third issue. And look, the action in this was amazing. The art is amazing. I can't even like show you this book without spoiling something. Here we go. Here's something that's not spoiled, actually. All right, here's a page that doesn't spoil anything. The art is great. The art is great. Honestly, this book is great. And yeah, if this whole issue wasn't a spoiler for issue 2, I'd go in a little bit more detail, but I want you to be able to read the run and enjoy it. So if you're not reading Chip Zdarsky's Batman, read it. 125, 126, and this week's 127 are all you got to catch up on. In the backup story, also dealing with the major spoiler. So I can't really discuss it much, but it's Catwoman focused. It's focused on Selena, and she's got a mystery of her own to solve. And she solves it. This wraps up the backup story, or at least that backup feature. So I don't know what, the fourth issue is going to have. Are we going to get a different Selena story, or are we going to just get a different backup feature altogether? It was good though. I still liked it. I would imagine this is going to continue the Catwoman backups. Is there a Catwoman ongoing right now? Because I thought there was, and this would, I guess, kind of compete with that if it is still out there. But if not, this is as much of a Catwoman ongoing as I need if it was going to continue. Actually, all right. So spoiler alert. There's no spoiler, but it looks like the Catwoman story isn't continuing. The next backup is going to be a different backup altogether. But I like this little feature. Basically, Selena's got to decide what she wants to be in light of recent events. And she's got an interesting reason to maybe go one way over another. And that's really all I can say. But yes, Bunkmaster B, I do still like the backup story. And I usually don't even read backup stories. Like I kind of thumbed through them just to see what it was about. But no, I like it. It was good. John Smith says, nothing topped it in my pull list. My pull list had 10 books. Word. Jorge Jimenez's art is phenomenal, says Mentor Prizes. Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's better than it was during Fear State. And maybe it's just that the story makes you want to pay attention to the art more. I know toward the end of Fear State, I was just kind of like, I just want this to be over. So I would just thumb through like, okay, yeah, this looks cool. All right, cool. The book's over now. But man, like, all right, here's a page that doesn't spoil anything. I lied. It spoils. I can't show you anything. I can't show you anything in this book without spoiling the last issue. And I don't want to do that. Yep, there's a new writer as of about 8 issues or so. Ram V finished his run earlier. You can read about it in a piece called Why 2022 is Catwoman's Best Year Ever. I need to publish that piece. I am so sorry, Bunkmaster B. I just forgot. It's been a crazy month. But let's do that tomorrow. Yeah. So tomorrow on Comics Are Dope, you heard it here first, there will be a feature called Why 2022 is Catwoman's Best Year Ever. And it's a good piece. I read it like 2 months ago when it was written. But it still applies. It's still 2022, which is Catwoman's best year ever. Let's see. Fear State was one of the few arcs I wanted to get through quick just to get it over with. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like Fear State was really just like Joker War 2. I guess it was Scarecrow War. And I was just over it. I was just like, yo, we just did this. We just did this last year. And then the whole bait and switch on Future State being just a limited thing, and then them just continuing Future State for another year. There were so many things about the end of James Tynan's run that I just was not fun. Let's see. Ha. Okay. All right. We got trolls. All right. So we're not quite there yet, but did you hear the Queen died? Aretha Franklin, she's been dead. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yes, I heard Queen Elizabeth II died. And now Prince Charles is King Charles. So yeah, that's a thing. Condolences to the royal family and to all those who admire the monarchy. I don't know. What are we calling this? What do we? I was just talking about this with somebody in the K Squad on Discord. I was asking like, yo, what is the purpose of the monarchy? Like, because they're not a governing body. Why do we have a queen, or why do they have a queen? And what does she do if not rule? And I don't know. I don't get it. Don't get it. You're the second person who said that. What, Aretha Franklin? But yeah, so before we get to the topic of tonight's show, which is gatekeeping, I wanted to look and see if we got any like interesting comic book news coming out. So from Adventures in Poor Taste, Action Comics 1050 is going to be an extra sized milestone issue. Let me share my screen. Punk Master P is great. But yeah. So extra sized milestone issue. I assume it's the end of PKJ's run based on the quote that he wrote. But we got Philip Kennedy Johnson, Mike Perkins, Tom Taylor, Clayton Henry, Joshua Williamson, all sharing writing duty apparently, and then Nick Dragata. So that's interesting. It's all been building up to this. Clark Kent returned to Earth stronger than ever. John has fully come into his own. Why is this so big on my screen? I feel like, there we go. Super Family is poised to make Metropolis the true city of tomorrow. It's a new beginning for Superman, and the era that's about to begin is as bright, fun, and exciting as anything fans have ever seen at DC Comics. I don't know. This sounds like this is not the end of his run. It sounds like he's excited for a new era of Superman in Metropolis, which honestly, I've been enjoying Philip Kennedy Johnson on Action Comics. The War World saga, I can't lie, felt overlong. I still haven't read the finale, which was that Apocalypse something issue that came out last week. But yeah, I enjoy, there's a lot about Philip Kennedy Johnson's writing on Superman that I like, even though I wasn't a huge fan of how long the War World saga is gone. I think he really gets the character and what the character stands for. Like, Superman feels like something to aspire to when Philip Kennedy Johnson writes him. And I think that should always be the goal. Like, Superman should always be your favorite hero's favorite hero, right? Even if he's not your favorite hero, right? That's how I feel. So yeah. Heard the Queen was dead, immediately had to check on Beyonce's status. That's great. It's like Japan. Does Japan have kings and queens too? That is news to me. That's news to me. Let's see. Paperbacks and Soundtracks says, man, I'm so mad. None of my shops here in Texas have Vineyard issue number 2. I have to order it from Midtown. Yeah, I only have issue 1. And like I said, yeah, you can check Midtown, but also follow Brian Hawkins on Whatnot. He goes live at least once a week, and he almost always has extra copies, and he signs them. So that's how I got my issue of Vineyard. That's how I got my copy of Vineyard issue number 1. So yeah, okay. I'm all for whatever Tom Taylor wants to do with the house that Elle built. John's book is one of the best month in and month out. I can't lie. I kind of fell off of it, and not so much that it was bad or anything. I just fell behind, and that's not one of the books that I rushed to catch up on. So I need to get caught up. I'm like, I read that first story arc. I read issues 1 through 6. Really, really, really liked them. And then I think I read issue 7 and fell off after that. So shame on me for falling off the bandwagon, but I'll get back in it. Well, it was good news for me that Jason Aaron will be leaving Avengers. Apparently, he's been on that book for 4 years. I never read it because he's been on it for 4 years. I've only been in comics for what, 3 years? So I would, never felt like there was a great jumping in point for me. I did buy a series of Avengers covers because they had Black Panther on them, like Black Panther and Moon Knight specifically on this one cover. And I just thought it was a really cool contrast seeing Black Panther and Moon Knight fight. And I think I even read the issue, but I didn't continue the series. Was that like issue like 43 or something? I don't know. Anyway, Illicus Spain says facts, no more deconstruction writing. Yeah, like this was not like a tear down Superman. Like this was like it was a good Superman. And it's not like the make Superman evil and then show him how to be good again. Like, nah, it was just Superman standing for truth and justice. He just wasn't in Metropolis. And I think that's why the War World saga kind of got overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of people just kind of chose to be mad that John Kent was in Metropolis and not like follow Superman wherever he was going. So, yeah. Yo, are you just gonna like, you can't say spoiler alert and then spoil it in the same comment, Danny. I can't even put you on the screen now. Truth and Faith says he loves old school Superman and Superboy so much better. Word. Oh, Japan has an emperor. Interesting. I don't know much about Japanese culture. Like I watched Dragon Ball Z, but I didn't become one of those like anime heads that became a manga head that like decided to learn the entire history of feudal Japan. But I do still like Dragon Ball Z. Let's see. Mercedes Kirkland. Yes. Japan doesn't have kings or queens or kings, but apparently they have an emperor. So all news to me in light of the Queen of England passing. So I was just trying to figure out what the queen does or why the queen is a queen. Well, I guess she's not anymore. But why is there a monarchy? Why is there a monarchy in England if the monarchy doesn't rule? Is it just because they're just that rich that like they just get status even if they don't have the status? Like, you know how like when a president goes out of office, we call them former president such and such. Like there's former President Obama and former President Trump, right? Like they're not just like a president forever because they were president at one time. Anyway, this is a conversation for another day. It's a conversation for me to go ask someone and learn and be a student, not to sound condescending on the internet, because that's not my point at all. But yeah, so let's see if there's anything else that's interesting in comic book news. Daredevil's getting a new costume in issue number 4. Okay. Graffiti Design is on production hiatus. Graffiti Design, if you're not familiar, they typically make a bunch of like collectibles. Most notably, you'll see them selling like officially licensed comic book t-shirts. I have a t-shirt that features Brian Bolland's cover for Legends of the Dark Knight number 50. It's the Joker smiling with the Joker cat. I have that t-shirt. And it's not the greatest t-shirt, to be honest with you. Like it's super heavy and like rough feeling, but Graffiti Designs has been like the go-to company for those types of things, as well as books. They make like gallery design or gallery edition books and treasury edition books and stuff for mostly for DC stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna look at the gallery now so you can see what I'm talking about. Probably Tradition. Illuminati families, masonry, dictatorships. That's a whole lot of conspiracy theories there. How many different costumes is there? Well, gracious. Batman Superman World's Finest is a good comic series. I have every issue except issue 3, so I can't really read it all. I don't know what happened to my issue 3. I thought I had one, but I don't. At least I can't find it. I'm supposed to be sharing. Oh, this is why I don't shop at Graffiti Designs. I remember now. So, all right, fun fact. When I first got into comics, when I get into anything, I tend to go really, really hard, right? And so I wanted to buy like a bunch of comic book shirts. And I found the Graffiti Designs website after reading or seeing a Graffiti Designs ad in a previews magazine. But this is how you navigate it. Like you hover over stuff and you see it and right? So then you click on it and it's just this website is like from 2004. Like, and I get it. E-commerce sites are difficult to revamp because depending on how many products you have, you've got a whole inventory management system from the back end. But dog, look at this website. Like, what is going on? But yeah, so that's Graffiti Designs. And now the only thing you'll be able to get from them are these gallery edition books, these huge art books, basically. Superman, Batman, Michael Turner. Okay, the Dark Knight Returns gallery edition, that would be cool to have. But man, these prices. $1.75. So yeah, that's all the relevant news that I see. There's a lot of like fluff articles and like previews of upcoming books that I'm not gonna cover, but some cool stuff in comic news. If you're reading Radiant Black and all those other tie-ins, there's going to be a Radiant Pink series launching in December. So, yeah. All right. All these shirt companies want to print on a Gildan and their shirts feel like tarps. Yeah, that's the issue I had with Graffiti Designs. That shirt was definitely printed on a Gildan, and it was just like, I wore it once, and it was like, this feels like sandpaper. I still wear it from time to time, especially for videos, but I don't wear it out like ever. New comic book news. Power Rangers hits issue 100 at the end of the month, counting Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers in the original numbering. So, okay, because when they ended at like 45. So both Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers are in the legacy numbering for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. I guess that makes sense. So what is it like? So would Mighty Morphin be issue 51 and then Power Rangers be issue 52 and alternating like that? That's just interesting stuff for me. And further proof that maybe it wasn't the best jumping on point for me. And that's why I ended up selling a lot of my issues to Bunkmaster B. Issue 100 is $10. And because I'm an idiot, I have 2 covers pre-ordered and trying to figure out if I want to add another one in. Look, you're not an idiot. You're just a fan, right? If Batman had an anniversary issue with a bunch of cool variants, I'd be down for that. And, that's happened several times because they always make random variants for Batman all the time. Websites need to be mobile intuitive. No one's using their computer to shop on a regular. These hover over designs are dated. I agree, Woke NATO. I got my tea here for my voice. So, yeah, there's that. Should be getting a new trailer for Black Adam tonight. Word. Honestly, I'd rather just see the movie, but I like the last trailer. It was cool. R.I.P. Michael Turner. Yes. All right. So we're 30 minutes into the show, and I've run out of other things to talk about. So I guess we're going to go ahead and just get into today's topic. No, I did not make that TikTok account that we talked about because I told you I'm not TikToking. The best you'll get from me is an Instagram reel. But yeah, TikTok's not for me. But yeah, so I'm going to preface this topic with the same kind of speech that I gave to the K Squad. So if you're in my group on Facebook or on Discord, You heard this already. And also, it's in the description of this video. But since I started this channel, how long ago was this? Almost 2 years ago. I started the channel. A large part of why I started this channel was because I just wasn't a fan of a lot of what I saw YouTube becoming. And that one was, or that was just like a lot of people angrily yelling into a camera about comic books. And like it was frustrating because everybody's like, "Oh, comics like suck now. They were so great then," or I don't know. DC Comics is gonna die, and Marvel Comics is going out of business, and blah blah blah. People just yelling about stuff. And so because I didn't want to become that, like I decided, like, look, I'm not gonna talk about any subject that can even remotely play into someone's like political atmosphere, right? Like I don't want to broach subjects that may become incendiary or that someone can take and twist my words to mean one thing versus another, or co-opt my words, right, to try to fit some larger outside narrative that I don't subscribe to, right? So doing that means I don't really talk about a lot of comic book behind the scenes industry news, right? Because right, if you say like, oh, such and such artist is off of this book at issue such and so, right? There's people that are gonna be like, yeah, it's about time because I was sick of what they were doing, and well, I don't know. And then there's a lot of like just little like high school drama that you see in comics where it's like these two creators are bashing each other's heads in because they don't like each other, or I don't know, insert story here, and there's an angry dude yelling at a camera to cover it for you. For me, I'm just like, I'd rather keep it about the stories. I'm either enjoying a book or I'm not, and I can tell you why without like asking you to not like it with me. You know, like that's how I feel, right? My line used to be, I'm a black man with an afro. You could probably guess how I feel on most topics, but it's usually not relevant to the conversation that we're having. So I no longer have an afro, but I still look like me. So yeah. So with that said, topics like the topic we're talking about tonight are things that I would typically steer away from. But I saw this news story. Um, Honestly, it wasn't even a news story that I saw. I saw the thread where it originated on Facebook, and I was just like, "Yo, this is wild." So, so I'm gonna bring up this article. I'm doing this so reluctantly, but I have to do this to get to. This is the means to the end, which is that I feel that there's a conversation that we can have that's not about like you know identity politics or virtue signaling or woke agendas or any of the things that people say that these conversations are about. But it's a general conversation about like kind of the state of comics, um, who's allowed to like comics, who's allowed to write comics, um, and what one person's success may mean for another's, right? I think there's a conversation that we can have about keeping our hobby fun, enjoying the stories that we enjoy without putting down someone else for what they enjoy. And I think the end result of that sort of line of thinking is that, hey, there's more comics for us and for them and for whoever. I don't know who the us and them are, but you know. So let's share this article. Let's share this article. Okay, my bad. So I'm looking at you guys' comments while also trying to like run a show here. So this headline from Bleeding Cool says Jason Pearson says Afua Richardson gets work because she's beautiful. Um, Dang, I kind of meant to not mention people's names, but so the story goes, and a lot of these comments and things have been deleted, but Afua Richardson posted on her own Facebook page a picture of a commission that she did. And for whatever reason, this dude, this other comic book artist, jumped in and just was like, no, like you haven't been vetted, you didn't earn your place in the industry, and you can't come into my industry without being vetted. And he proceeded to basically just have like a war of words, both with Afua and then like out into the ether. But I think the meat of his point is here in this follow-up post that he did. Says, I'm tired of wannabe outsiders joining up in my comic book industry without earning it, never being through the ups and downs, the ins and outs, claiming they are one of us because comic book movies are popular nowadays. Please, I go back to the days when comic books weren't popular and I had to fight boys and be ridiculed by girls because I still had comic books in my backpack. When one had to put his or her rage down on paper, pencils, inks, lettering, markers, and or computers. In the early days, settle themselves down while everyone else was laughing at you. Ain't scaring you off, newcomers. Don't be scared. Join the club if you're true to storytelling and not because of popularity. I'm a nobody in the pop culture of comics, but earn yours through sincerity before you claim you're better. And then he randomly puts in a song by James Cleveland. And you know, because he had come on to Afua Richardson's page, she basically followed him onto his post and just kept arguing with him about just trying to like assert her place, like where her vetting comes from, or who allowed her to be in comics and some of the names that she's gone through doing work for, and so on. Right. So that's about as much of this article as I'm going to share. But, but, um, what this brought up to me, right? This is interesting because oh, you think you like comics? Name every comic. Don't worry, I'll wait. Right. Right. So when I saw this thread, right, I saw some of my friends who are comic creators talking about it. So then I saw the thread, and then I saw the article that put like a couple of different threads like all together in context. And I was just like, dang, like that sucks. But the part that really sort of um made me feel compelled to speak on the subject was the part where she starts responding to him, right? And basically the dude's like, you can't come into my industry, you know, without being vetted. And it's a popular like thing, right? We've seen this narrative that there are outsiders taking over this thing that we love, right? The problem with that is, okay, well, who are we defining as outsiders? Because on some extreme, right, at one extreme end of the spectrum, people are defining outsiders as anyone who's of a different race, a different ethnicity, a different religion, a different sexual orientation or gender identity, right? If you belong to one of those groups and you come into comics, it's because you belong to one of those groups that someone allowed you to be in comics. And therefore, I, a member of none of those communities, are am being marginalized. And it's just like, ugh, it's weird. It's weird, right? Rupert Pendergrass says, actor says the same thing about rappers when they started making movies. Right, right. So I guess we're talking about the concept of gatekeeping. And right, I guess we should define the term. So yeah, right. This is a very simple definition, but Google's dictionary, which comes from Oxford, says the activity of controlling and usually limiting general access to something. Right, you being a member of some community saying, "Hey, you can't be in this community because I say so, or because you didn't do this and that, or because I don't know you. You can't come over here. You can't sit with us. You can't ride on in my car, right? Like, you know, it's just this weird thing." And Fourth Wall says, "Isn't he black though?" Yeah, I said at some extremes. This me talking isn't like this isn't like a race conversation necessarily. Like because I don't think it's just, you know, certain people. Like, I don't think it's just white people or just men or, I don't know, just nerds that are gatekeepers or who try to gatekeep, right? I think is what we're seeing on the professional level, like with these kind of professional sort of infighting, is just a microcosm of what we have participated in geek culture for like ever, right? Like, I know that there are so-called blurs, right? Like, there are black kids who got picked on for liking anime when they were in like middle and high school and stuff. And they hate the fact that anime is like the biggest thing on Netflix, and there are so many like so-called cool black people who are now into cosplay or into the MCU or into Naruto or whatever, right? Because there's this feeling like, well, I got like stripes for liking this thing. Like, I was put down for liking this thing. Why do you get to like this thing and flourish while liking this thing? You didn't have to go through what I went through to get this enjoyment that you have, right? And I just think that's a terrible way of thinking in general, regardless of what that thing is that we're trying to keep people from. Like, it's just dumb. Like, because yeah, exactly, mentor prizes. My brother would sometimes talk about how you would get picked on if you like Dragon Ball back in high school. But you know what's crazy? Like, it's not so much you got picked on for liking Dragon Ball, because I think we all watched Dragon Ball Z. But if you were that kid who like went from Dragon Ball Z to Naruto to Cowboy Bebop to buying the Shonen Jump magazines every month or whatever, and then all of a sudden you started wearing like the silk shirts with like every anime character on the back, and maybe you grew dreads for some reason and like didn't keep them up, right? There is like the stereotypical anime black kid who was socially awkward and who absolutely got picked on, but it was mostly because they were socially awkward, not because they liked a certain thing. Because, you know, not a big secret, we all liked a lot of those things too. We just didn't take it to that degree, you know? Exactly. Girls didn't dislike me because I was reading comics. It was because I didn't wear deodorant. Right. Like, that's why people got picked on. It's because of all the other things that came with them throwing themselves into their hobby. And so I guess we can kind of break down this whole Jason Pearson versus Afua Richardson thing, right? There's like the older established artist who went through a whole lot of like, who's done a lot of work. He's got a lot of credits in the industry. He's respected, or at least was at a time or for a period of time. I think he had like a bit of a falling from grace because he didn't fulfill a Kickstarter back in 2015, and apparently hasn't done a whole lot of work in the industry since. But basically, in his thread, he went as far as to accuse Afua Richardson of getting by on her good looks, right? And but the meat of his argument seemed to be like, well, because you didn't like read comics all your life, or you didn't make comics day in and day out for 30 years, you don't get to be here, right? He says like you don't get to claim that you're better, but she never claimed she was better than anyone. She just was kind of minding her business. He just kind of jumped in. Now, I suck at covering news because I hate covering news and like basically what amounts to gossip stories. But I did see this with my own two eyes. So I guess we have to kind of break down the sort of parameters, right? Sort of myths about the story. Because if you're going to talk about something like this, you understand that this conversation often goes across like race lines, or it's presented as though it's like a racial conversation. So some people might think that Jason Pearson is like some middle-aged white man somewhere. And that's not the case. He is middle-aged, but he's also black, right? So this is not like, racist white man picking on a fool Richardson, but it is someone who is like, hey, I got my stripes. I earned my stripes. Who says you get to be here? Right. And my thing with it is like, who are any of us to say who deserves to do a thing? Right. Like, I know comic creators. There is no one creating comics that does not absolutely love comics because there's no money in comics. Like, the things that like he was alluding to is like, oh, like the breaking your back and not paying your bills and da. Like, you know how much of a luxury it is to be able to do that? And I think the idea that in order to be a comics artist, you have to only be a comics artist. You can't explore any other forms of creativity, or, you know, you can't use any other skills to make money. It's kind of wild. Like, so I've been watching, I enjoy interviews, right? As much as I hate drama, I enjoy interviews and seeing people's perspectives. And I remember watching the video, interview that someone did with Kari Randolph way back in the day. And Kari Randolph is talking about all the different jobs that he has to take just to like afford basic life. And then also the sacrifices he has to make to kind of do comics on top of that. Right. Um, and Kari Randolph has done like artwork for advertising, for video games, and now comics. And for a long time he was juggling between the three, right? And that's typically what you got to do if you're going to be an artist in this industry, or really any industry. Making money as a commercial artist is not an easy thing to do, right? Unless you are a fine artist who is known, like who's well known, and you can sell a painting for like six figures, right? You only need to do like 2 paintings a year and you're good. So it's like everybody else is scraping by for page rates and all these other things. So Afua Richardson has been known to, she's been in comics. What is this? I have a text message. Hold on. Okay, cool. So so the idea, oh yeah, so anyway, so comic book artists, they have to like do all these other things to make money, right? And so Afua Richardson, she's a comic artist, she's a commercial artist. She's probably most notable these days because she did art for a character, or for two characters, in Lovecraft Country. Um, and she's been a singer-songwriter. She's done a lot of things. But here lately, Afua Richardson's had some health challenges that are preventing her, or have prevented her, from releasing her first big creator-owned title, which is called Aquarius, the Book of Mer. And knowing all of that about Afua Richardson just kind of made me feel bad that this whole conversation had to happen at all, because she really was just minding her business, posting her art that she just loves to do. You know what I'm saying? And someone just came through and like just attacked her and was just like, "Oh, you can't be here." And I feel like if we say that we love comics, or we say we love anything, why would we not want other people to share in that thing? Right? Like, it's the same for like the people who were like diehard comic book fans and know everything about Marvel, and then like hate that the MCU exists because now other people claim they like comics, but they didn't like comics when it was just comics. They only like it because it's movies, and I hate them. And it's like, what do you mean? Do you know that without the MCU, Marvel Comics may not be a thing at this point, like anymore? Like, it all it all feeds into this hobby. And as long as one sector is thriving, there's an opportunity for everyone else to thrive, right? Like there's more for all of us. A rising tide raises all boats. Cliche here, cliche there. That's a thing. That's a thing. Um Lovecraft Country was criminally underrated. Yeah, it's just not needed at all. It's gross. Yeah, honestly, I felt like in my head this conversation had more like points to it, but I just keep just calling things stupid, and I don't know how productive that is. But yeah, let's see. Somebody said which comic enthusiast or Menterprise says which comic enthusiast wasn't socially awkward in high school, and Digital Blackface says I wasn't. Honestly, word like. Part work says I wish we had socially awkward as part of the lexicon when I was a kid. I was just weird. Word, yeah. All right, here's a good point. So Ilika Spain says, but to be honest, there are some perpetrators that are in the business just to use comics as an avenue to get a Netflix deal. And I get that because there is comics are more popular than ever, but a lot of people do just kind of see comics as intellectual property, waiting to be mined. Like you hear of so many independent stories and everything seems to be getting optioned, right? Bitter Root got optioned. There's a Static movie in development. Um, Mark Millar has like a whole first look deal with Netflix or something, right? Like, so there is a certain aspect of comics that can lead to wider success in Hollywood. And it would be naive to think that no comic creator has that on their mind. And it'd be even more naive to think that there are no comic creators who that see that as an opportunity and are like, hey, let me write something that can get picked up by such and such, right? Um, and it's gonna become more and more prevalent as time goes on. But but I don't think it's helpful, or I don't think that activity means there can't be good comics, or that people that have always loved comics are being pushed out of the hobby or anything like that, right? It's like when you're in a sports team and there's some form of hazing initiation rights and the school comes down on it. Hazing sucks and good it's gone, but the old players feel like, hey, I paid my dues. Why does this guy get by scot free? I get it. I get that aspect of it, right? Like, but I think the best analogy I can come up with for it is parenting, right? Like, have you ever like told your kid to do something and then like got mad because they didn't do it or whatever, and then like also gotten mad because you're not enforcing the same consequences that would have been enforced on you had you not done that thing, right? Like, and really where it comes down to is like when you start questioning, okay, like, well, why does this make me upset? Why do I feel like this about this or whatever, right? It comes down to it, it's just like, oh, I want somebody to feel as bad as I felt. And it's like, well, that's counterproductive. That's dumb. Like, I'm only raising kids so that they can be better than me, right? I say my goal as a parent is to make sure my kids have a better life than me. And part of that is me giving them access to things I didn't have access to, me treating them in ways that I wasn't treated, right? Like, that's how we push things forward. That's how I push forward my family name and the legacy that comes from us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's like, okay, when I really think about it, all of this like hardship that I want my kids to endure, that's dumb. I should want them to be able to take the lesson without taking the lumps and get even further, you know? So officially official geek says, are we supposed to ignore change for the better so everyone gets to feel equally crappy? Right. Exactly, right? Like the whole point of society is to move forward, right? Not for us to be like, oh, well, I had it hard, so you should have it hard too. But also, who's to say a Fool Richardson didn't have it hard? You know how difficult it is to be to be black and like get by in any industry. I can't imagine being a black woman and trying to get by in any industry, right? It's not to say that like just black people can't succeed at anything. I'm just saying things are difficult. And the journeys that we take are difficult in ways that other people don't have to like think about or experience. Like I remember you guys, I don't know, maybe you don't know the story of this channel. We're at like 6,500 subscribers now. But this channel really kind of rose during the pandemic because, everybody was at home. A lot of people were buying comics. A lot of people were watching YouTube. And so because I was making content consistently during lockdowns and other times, my channel just kind of went from 0 to about 2,000 in like 3-4 months or so. You know what I'm saying? And because the channel rose that quickly, right? I say rose in parentheses because 6,000 is not a ton of subscribers, but I do understand that among comic book YouTubers, I've somehow reached like the middle market, right? Like there's the huge people who have like 50,000 plus, and there's most people who have like 1,000 or around that or so. And then there's me who has like 5,000 or 6,000 or whatever. And you got other people on the rise that are making more, like Reggie Collects has like 20,000 right now. But my point is, you're either gem mint or you're like struggling. And because my channel was doing moderately well and doing so quicker than a lot of other channels where it was able to get that, someone commented in one of my videos and straight up said, he's only getting this much attention because he's black. And I was like, yo, like, I'm legit just existing. Like, I'm just talking about stories that I like. I don't even feel like I cover black artists or characters or writers anywhere near as much as I cover like other stuff. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Milestone, and I talk about Milestone a lot more than anyone else does. But that's mostly because no one else talks about Milestone, and I think it's really interesting. I think it's unique. But yeah, so this allegation that like, oh, I only have the success that I have on YouTube because I'm black. It's like, yo, like, you know how like dumb that sounds? That is insane. Wait, someone said that stuff about you. Someone said that to me, like in my comments. I don't even remember what video it was. I legit just ignored it. Well, I guess I didn't ignore it. I read it and kept these feelings and thoughts about it for a year and a half. But I didn't respond to it, I should say. Is that the only reason I've been watching you all this time? Huh. Today I learned. Right. It's not because, I try to make content in a format that, is different from other people. It's not because I put more into my production value than a lot of upstart comic YouTubers do or did. It was because I was black, and only because I was black. Right. But being a minority of any type, you tend to go through dumb stuff like that, right? People accusing you of getting by on your looks or sleeping your way to the top or paying somebody for this feature or that feature or you getting in because of some imaginary affirmative action that would exist on YouTube somehow. What? But yeah, it's crazy. Partwork says, I think I initially found you looking for Ollie's and Zavi comic book content. And I absolutely, yeah, that was the video that kind of blew the channel up. The Ollie's video was the first to get to 10,000 views on this channel. Rupert Pendergrass is just sending a super sticker. Thank you, sir. I can't see the sticker, but I appreciate that it's there. Let's see. I got to get to these super chats. I'm not used to getting super chats. My bad. Fourth Wall says comics need more people with more stories to tell, more talent, and more accessibility all around. Right. Like we can't, on one hand, be mad that the direct market is shrinking and comic book stores are closing and so on. And then also be mad that more people who are different from us like comics. Like, that's stupid. That's stupid. If somebody gets into comics and loves comics and starts a pull list, that means your shop has another customer. That means they get to place more orders. That means the books get to keep being published and you get comics to read, right? Ilka Spain, American comic scene needs to be treated like Japanese market. Only the best need to be printed. I get that. But in this medium, who defines what the best is? Is there a standard that we judge things by? Is there a rubric anywhere? Is it just the sales? And if it is just the sales, how do you determine what's going to sell before it is printed and offered for sale? Right? Past performance can often be an indicator of future success. But who's to say that that kid over there writing scripts for Law and Order can't write a script for a comic book that's really good? Who's to say that that other kid who just draws and draws and draws all the time and posts their pictures on Twitter, but hasn't ever really done sequential art for a publication, who's to say their art won't pop when it hits the market, right? There's always going to be a bit of trial and error when it comes to business. There's always going to be a bit of guessing, right? Educated guessing, but guessing. And then even outside of even with all of your best performance indicators, you can't predict the market. We can't predict the recession. You can't predict a pandemic, right? So it's difficult. It's difficult to try to make this a meritocracy when the merits are so fluid. You know? You know? Officially Unofficial Geek says, answer this to yourself. Anyone. What is art? We all have different views on it. So to say someone isn't worthy, you're going to leave someone out. Right. Funny how that's all people saw in you and your channel and not the uniquely positive spin on the channel. Word. Rupert says, what brought me to your channel is I seen the younger me in you. And when I was younger, there were no people of color doing what you're doing that I've seen. Word. Yeah. I got into comics as an adult, as a 30-year-old. I think I was 29. How old am I? What year is this? I started reading comics in 2019. I'm 31 now. So, yeah, I was in my 20s. But I always enjoyed superheroes. I just never had comic books. And when I got into comics, it was cool. But I won't. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me that felt like, yo, like, maybe I'm not welcome in this hobby because there were a lot of people online who were like raging against minorities and creators of color and creators of other orientations and accusing people of only getting their jobs because they had pronouns in their bio and all of these different things, right? And I was just like, sheesh, these people are mad. I don't want to be associated with these people. Maybe superheroes aren't for me, right? So, fun fact, this week or this month marks the 30th anniversary of Batman the Animated Series. And this past January marks the 31st anniversary of my birth, right? And some of my earliest memories are being in preschool. And we were raised by the TV in my preschool. We had like 2 hours of TV time, which was great. And I remember waiting for that Batman the Animated Series theme song to come on. And then when they changed it to the Batman, Superman hour, I was watching it then. And then they had the new Batman Adventures, and I was watching it then. And it was great. For as long as I've been consuming media, the DC animated universe has existed, and I've always loved it. Like, that's an amazing fact about life. So for me to like watched like every Batman show ever, and every episode of Justice League ever, and every DC animated universe movie ever, to say, all right, there's comics. Let me start reading the comics, and then jump on YouTube and like start reading or watching comic book reviewers, and then they be like basically saying, "You're not welcome here." It's like, yeah, how dare you? Who are you to say? Right? Like, I didn't earn my stripes because I didn't get picked on for reading comics in elementary school. My bad. Like, what are you talking about? Like, look, you gotta go somewhere and heal from that trauma, right? People did you wrong. Kids are cruel, right? The Lego Batman movie. Robin comes up to Bruce Wayne. It's like, oh yeah, my name's Richard, but kids at school call me Dick. He's like, yeah, children can be cruel, right? That yes, children can be cruel. Kids are whack, right? I know because I'm raising two of them, right? And my job as a parent is to make them less whack over time. But look, somebody who wasn't quite developed enough made a very lasting impression on you that wasn't good. But it's not an excuse for you to be a jerk for the rest of your life. Like, dog, like grow up. Grow up. And this is why I don't do these topics, because no matter how objective I try to be, they turn into me like yelling at a camera and being upset that I have to talk about the topic. So, fun fact. But in the real world, there is nepotism and cronyism that are permeating in the comics industry. That's every industry, though. That's every industry. Like, when's the last time? Like, how many times have you gone on a job interview, then found out you didn't get the job, and then found out like they hired somebody that's been working there forever, but that wasn't in the related department at all, but they just had a good relationship with the hiring manager, so they gave him a shot, right? Familiarity breeds comfort. And so we're most comfortable around the things that we already know, right? Like, yes, I feel most comfortable in a room full of like, people that look like my family, right? Like, so I'm probably most at ease in a room full of like black people, but you know how whack my life would be if I only spent time around black people? If I didn't come up here and talk to you guys who are overwhelmingly not black, right? Like, would the quality of my life be like, right? But in order for me to experience that, I have to like jump out of my comfort zone. And jumping out of your comfort zone is uncomfortable, right? And so I get the sort of like visceral gut reaction that we have to, you know, things being different all around us or whatever. But, it is what it is. Back in the days, it used to be you get handed a second story assignment or a backup comic and get the reviews from that. If you get good reviews, you get more assignments. I think the biggest difference between these days and days past is comics sold in days past, right? Like, people bought comics and they bought them on merits of storytelling and not just because they were going to be collectible or there was this first appearance or that first appearance or this one got optioned for a series or that one got optioned. But people like to talk about the changes that were made behind the scenes, right? Like this person got hired versus this person and this and that. But all of these things, right? Businesses are reactionary. As someone who has run businesses since I was 14, right? Every step that I make in business is in response to, maybe not every step. I try to be proactive, but that's just not how business works. You do what works until it doesn't work anymore, and then you do something else. And if you find that thing working, then you do it and you do it and you do it until the law of diminishing returns starts to jump in, and then you find something else to jump on. And that's why we go from gimmick to gimmick to gimmick. That's why we've got events after event after event, because if those things didn't sell, they wouldn't be made, right? And so when the buzzwords in corporate America in general, not just the entertainment industry. Yo, you know how many like heads of diversity, equity, and inclusion I've seen hired in the last 2 years? Yo, we've been America the whole time. Like, there's been diversity in America for at least 200 years, right? Like, do we just now need to be diverse in our businesses? Do we just now need to be equitable in our businesses? Perhaps. But now that we know we do, we are. And we take those steps. And yeah, it's an ever-changing market. It's an ever-changing landscape, right? The money isn't in comics, the money's in TV shows. Okay, we better find some people that can write something good enough to be on TV and stop hiring these people that only want their idea to be a comic book. Yes, does that suck for you if all you like is comic books? Absolutely. But the alternative is the business dies, right? Or the alternative is everybody's on Kickstarter. And now you got to choose, like I do, right? Which friend and creator you're going to support, because it's not going to be in a regular store. So you got this 30 days to buy this book, or you're just not going to get it because it's not going to get made. You know? So, yeah, it's difficult. It's all about the pivot. Big difference today is that consumers can speak directly to creators and publishers. So sometimes you don't have to suffer to get noticed. So why demand that others suffer to come up? Because I suffered, right? But you know how crazy that sounds? That would be like my grandmother saying, look, I had to pass a literacy test to be able to vote for the next president. So you should have to pass a literacy test to be able to vote for the next president, right? The literacy test was never supposed to be there. Batman animated cartoon, straight classic. I used to wear strong and turn on the television just to watch it. Yo, Bobby's World. Yes, because it did come on around the same time. To be a kid again. Morning cartoons were great. They had cartoons on TV like all day. It was great. It was great. Exactly. To have comics, you got to have business. Yeah, look, the comic book companies are owned by these mega conglomerates, right? If DC could have survived on its own, it wouldn't have gotten sold. If Marvel could have survived on their own, and spoiler alert, they couldn't. It's not a spoiler. It happened in the past. Like they could not. That's why they had to sell their characters' rights into, or to Sony and to Disney and to Fox. Because if they didn't take that money from the media industry, they wouldn't exist. You think the 200,000 issues of Batman selling every month is keeping any business afloat with margins like comics? It's so wild. It's so wild. Yo, we just pivoted from Jim Crow voting laws to the Batman animated theme song. We're wild tonight. This is a wild show. You know what's interesting is this is supposed to be the first show with structure. Even Milestone had a founder there to handle business stuff. 2, quiet as kept, because Michael Davis's job was marketing, and Derek just handled like business negotiations and such. Blue says there's no standard. The most popular are void of any artistic vision that adds any dimension to the medium. But if it sells, it sells. Real art is still being made for those who want to support it. Facts. I mean, look, how many times we get the same recycled Batman story, right? Before this run started. And even during this run, some of this is just capitalizing on nostalgia. Some of this is Zdarsky saying, oh, what if I talk about Tower of Babel? This story that happened 20 years ago. That's going to get them going. Right? Like, the game is the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, business is business. This, you know why I bought this? I know somebody in the comments can guess before I say it, but I bought this because it's a Jim Lee cover, homaging one of my favorite Jim Lee covers. I didn't need this book, but I spent $7 on it. DC knew I was going to spend $7 on this book. That's why they greenlit this cover. Because it was the cover A. Nah, this is the cover B. I don't know if it was the cover B, actually. This is the Harley Quinn annual. I think it had like 3 or 4 covers. There were a lot of good covers for the last actual Harley Quinn issue, by the way. I just don't read Harley Quinn, so it's a dope cover, yes. Jim Lee, yes, see? Because it's Jim Lee. And because for a very long time I wanted this cover and I didn't have it. And then I bought it very recently in a page puncher, the McFarlane joint. But then Zdarsky has a book public domain as an indie book. Right. That's the other big part of this, right? Like, if you want good comics, they still exist. Like, all the comics that people claim like are being pushed out, they still exist. Like, The Flash is still a consistently great book that speaks to a lot of the values that people claim they have, right? But nobody talks about The Flash. They just talk about how much they hate Superman or Superboy or John Kent, right? No one's forcing them to buy that book. Is the Harley Quinn show good? I don't know. Ask Carrie. I haven't been watching it. Yeah, I haven't been watching it. I tend to watch shows that I can watch with my kids, and the Harley Quinn show is not one at the moment. Marcus McCrary says, Afua graciously came by LCS when she was drawing the Black Panther World of Wakanda books. Yo, and her art is dope. Her art is dope. Like, so I don't get this idea that like she doesn't get to have a comics career because I don't why. I mean, she's been drawing forever. She's got credits. Her art looks good. People buy it when it's out there. Like, are you mad because somebody wanted to pay her? I don't get that. I don't get it. But look, this is devolving into me yelling at a camera. I'm not quite yelling, but my temperament is that. That's me. You can ask me. LOL, I'm Carrie. Oh, yes. Carrie is officially unofficial geek. And she likes the Harley Quinn show, but it's not for kids at all. So everybody that I know that watches the Harley Quinn show really, really likes the Harley Quinn show. Negativity sells. No one wants to hear the sunshine and flowers news stories. The only news stories we want are dark and gritty. Look, like, I used to like the news segment when they brought in the dogs that needed to be adopted. Like, oh, this is Sparky. He's a golden doodle and he likes sunshine. Look at Sparky go, right? Like, I used to like that, right? Like, I remember this is not funny, but I remember watching the news with my grandparents one night, and basically there was like a robbery attempt, and the perpetrator like shot a baby during the robbery attempt. And I remember the newscaster like paused and just repeated, "He shot the baby." And that was when we were like, yo, like, the news is super depressing. And yeah, it's like, yo, what? Yeah, I'm good on that. I'm good on the doom and gloom. There's a sign that says you must be this ugly to draw comics. Afua is unfortunately too pretty and thus isn't allowed to make comics. Apparently, them's the breaks. Yo, like, and I talked about this with comic creators at Heroes Con. I told you guys, I asked like this question that kind of took the air out of the room, but like, yo, like, being a minority in comics, how do you deal with the backlash that comes from people who honestly are sitting on the sidelines, who have no interest in like trying to make a career of comics, but They have all the interest in commenting on it. Like, how do you handle that loud voice on the internet that's like, you don't belong here? And overwhelmingly, they were like, yo, I just ignore it. Like, because if I didn't belong here, I wouldn't be here. Like, if I didn't put in the work, they wouldn't give me the opportunity. Right? Like, so yeah. Gatekeeping is dumb. Gatekeeping keeps people out of comics, which obviously, because that's the definition of the term. And as comic book fans, we should want more people in comics. I want you to have the story that you want to read. I don't care if that's a story about a demon-possessed shark or a bisexual son of Superman or a race of vampires led by John Adams. I don't care. The more you read comics, the more the comic shop gets to stay open, the more I get to have conversations with people like, yo, if you like this, you might like that. That wasn't my cup of tea, but I think you might enjoy it based on your taste. And we get to have more fun, right? We talked about this last week, but I think the best aspect of comics is the community. And like I have my Discord in on my Discord server. It's called the K Squad. And basically what we are a group of, let's check the numbers real quick. All right. So in the K Squad on Discord, there are 181 people. And we talk about everything in the K Squad. We've got a channel for sneakers. We got a channel for comic book news. We got a channel for health. Like, we got a fitness club. We're trying to get our weight and our health in order. We got a channel for gamers. We got a channel for people who love the DCEU or the MCU. We got a channel for Star Wars lovers. So you're talking about all of these different things with a group of people who like comics, right? We don't all like the same comics. Bunkmaster B reads a bunch of stories that I don't read. But Bunkmaster B knows when he reads a story that he likes that I will also like. And then he shares it with me. How dope is that? How dope is that? Carrie says, I'd be on the Discord if I could figure out Discord. Look, I didn't like Discord when I made the Discord. I only made the Discord because people kept saying, I don't want to give Mark Zuckerberg my money or my information. And I was like, all right, dog, you got it. Here's a Discord. But I grew to enjoy it because it's more organized than the Facebook group. In the Facebook group, it's just you post what you post and people see it or they don't. But here, like, I can post about my collected editions in the collected editions feed. And people that like collected editions will go find it and look at it and comment. So it's cool. But anyway, I enjoy, you know what I'm saying, that there's other people with different tastes that like some of the same things that I do. And I like learning from them. I like learning why they like what they like. You can't love comics and hate people. Like, because people make comics. Then we could have both if we look at the curated Japanese market. Good manga with good sales have proven get rewarded in anime and additional movie. I guess what I would like to know is like how many people are reading Japanese manga as like a percentage of the population. Like, is manga bigger in Japan than comics are in America? I would imagine it's like mostly the same, but something about manga feels uniquely Japanese in a way that like hot dogs are uniquely American. Like, I'm sure we eat more hot dogs than any other country, right? And so like if we sent hot dogs to Japan, maybe they wouldn't sell as much because they're hot dogs, but they sell more here. Does that make sense? I wonder if like there's so much of a great manga market in Japan because it's Japanese. Manga's bigger than comics in the US. That's true. That's true. Internet tends toward the negative. I'm so tired of people saying such and such and sucks and is bad. Crazy things when they say this before it's even released. Yeah, I hate like there's this one guy that's like always calling stuff dead on arrival. Like, yeah, this is dead on arrival. And it's like, yo, like, just don't read it. Just don't read it. It's okay. I love that I made him sound like Sherman Klump. This is dead on arrival, Miss Purdy. Uh Adults read manga in Japan too. Word. I don't see kids at comic shops often at all. I feel like the problem with comics is not so much the quality of the comics that are being made, but that we have such an exclusionary hobby. You can only buy comics at a comic shop, generally speaking. And where's the nearest comic shop? I didn't know that I had a comic shop down the street from me. For Ultimate Comics has been in existence for 19 years. I only started going there 3 years ago because I saw an ad. Had I known there was a comic shop, I probably would have gone to the comic shop because I liked superheroes, right? But you know what I did know? I knew when the new PlayStation was coming out. I knew when Madden was going to release that year. I know the NBA 2K is crushing right now. They got a Michael Jordan edition, and they got an edition with J. Cole on the cover. Like, ayo, like, I know that because they do a good job of pushing that in front of me at every turn, right? Comics don't even promote themselves in the comic book movies. Like, why not have a stinger at the front or the back of the latest MCU movie? Like, for more Thor, read Jason Aaron's run. It's really great. And the omnibus came out last week. There are so many books that come out from week to week that I forget or don't know are coming out because the only way to know what books are coming out is to buy a freaking catalog and order the book 3 months in advance. Who does that? I'm a nerd and I don't do that because who does that? Right? Like DC's got this they got these things like these the showcase, DC showcase movies. And at the beginning of each little short feature, the stinger, like the opening logo title, is somebody walking through a comic shop and it zooms in on the comic that the movie you're about to watch is based on. Why don't they do that for all of them? Maybe then a kid would be like, oh, wow, that's a comic book. Let me find one of those. Right. But instead, like, remember when DC was sending books to Walmart and people were like mad that DC books were in Walmart or that there was value in the DC books at Walmart? I used to get diamond previews in the 90s. I get diamond previews now. And I tell myself every month and I'm going to look through it and decide what I want to buy. And then I don't because I barely have time to read comics. I don't have time to read a book about comics that haven't come out yet that I might want to buy. I'm going to start, though, soon because I'm starting a series called FOC that's going to be on the back of every episode of the Hangout. So every week, I'm going to tell you which books are on final order cutoff so that you can order them before some major announcement happens. And, now you got to pay more because it's worth some crazy amount on the day of release. So, yeah, let me sip my tea. It's cold. That wasn't a sip. That was quite a gulp. But hey, LOL, it takes time, but it's worth it. No, it's true. There's a lot of different series that I didn't know existed that I found out about through the previews catalog. And that's why I'm going to do the FOC on this show because I know a lot of people just don't know that books are coming out. And then, comics live and die by pre-orders. So if enough people don't know about it, sometimes the book doesn't even ever get to exist. They cancel it at the pre-order stage. This is water, by the way. But yeah, so I hate that Afua Richardson had to defend herself and and spout off credits from people including Neil Adams and Sanford Green, but she did, because that's the world we live in. No one should have to, right? Like, if I walk around wearing a Marvel shirt and somebody comes up to me and is like, yeah, so what happened? Who's your favorite Spider-Man artist? And then I'd be like, I don't know, maybe Mark Bagley. Mine's Steve Ditko. You weren't around when the real comics were being made. I just be like, get out of my face. You know? Kite Man's my favorite. Word. I love comics. Grew up on them. I'm now working 2 collections, full raw runs and full graded runs. Huge New Mutants fan. Yo, that's a feat. Full graded runs of comics. That's a feat. I have a few graded books. I want to add a couple more. This is probably my favorite graded book at the moment. It's a Static Number 8, signed by John Paul Leon. This cover is by Walter Simonson, but JPL did the interiors on this book. And this is one of my favorite Static covers, period. If not my absolute favorite. I think graded books are cool. If there's something that you want to preserve about it, like just you want it to stay in good condition, but I don't necessarily need like a full run of any comic graded. I saw one guy with a full graded Static run though, and they were like all 9.6s or better. And I was like, that's a pretty cool collection. And he had them like displayed, like just behind him on a wall. It was a massive wall. And that was really cool, but I don't think I could do it. I don't think I'd be trying to buy 45 graded issues of Static. That's a lot. It's half 1 a.m. I need to sleep. Salute, C. Rook. Thanks for being here. Get some rest, sir. I'm gonna get out of here in a second too, because I didn't prepare any FOC picks, and again, this kind of conversation has devolved. The point of this conversation was just to kind of highlight, like, look, the more people in the hobby, the better off the hobby is. You know, like, I don't care if you're writing comics for a Netflix deal. If you are, chances are we're going to see through it. We're not going to buy your comic, but you'll get your Netflix deal and someone will get good TV out of it. Cool. Comic book publishers are still going to need people to make good comics. And there are a lot of good comics out there. One thing I have been getting caught up on is this, Firepower by Robert Kirkman. It's amazing. It's really good. Is it going to be an animated show? I don't know. It could be. I hope so. I'd watch it. But even if not, it's a good comic. It's a good comic. You paid your dues yet, Kicks? No, because no one told me where to send them. Oh, Tristan's here. What's up, Tristan, I'm all in your territory right now. I don't know what I'm doing. I stay out of these conversations entirely. So give me some tips. How do you handle these conversations without just straight up inviting trolls and then like yelling at them on screen? My man Jeff Thorns here says gatekeepers are BS. I agree. But there are a lot of good comics out there, right? And even if the comic isn't as good as you want it to be, it has great art. Like, it's people giving really good attempts at things, right? This is Here Comes Calico, number 4. It's an independent book by a publisher called Sigma Comics. I had the writer, H.H. German, on the show to talk about issue 5, which I'm supposed to be reviewing, and I will as soon as I find it. It came in the mail 2 weeks ago, and it's somewhere in this black hole of a comic book room. But this is a book about a dude who is basically the Punisher, but he's only coming after you if you're like mistreating animals. And it's super brutal and bloody, and it's printed on this newsprint, and it's a dope book, right? Other dope books. Where are we at? The Justice League died. It's a gimmick, but it was cool. Batman the World. A bunch of creators from around the world told very short Batman stories with different artists. This was cool. It was free. It was free. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell you how this one was. I bought it just for the cover and I didn't read the prequel series. So it looks dope though. Oh, this is James Tynan's Detective Comics run and it's amazing. Read it. That's just a bunch of Batman because I just grabbed my Batman stack. Let's look at other books that are dope though. Sometimes it's not even just books, right? This is my Milestone Returns Infinite Edition 0 issue. This is a blank, well, this was a blank sketch cover that my man Kev Koss had commissioned from me or for me by an artist named Brand Flakes. Yeah, Brand Flakes Art on Instagram. And it's static, sitting on a wall that has graffitied his name, right? Like, this is something dope created by a fan of comics that I get to now display in my house because it's cool, right? Like, there's so much cool stuff in the comic book world. And even if you don't like the new stuff, as Jay-Z said, people want my old stuff, buy my old albums, right? Like, this industry that you claim to love is churning out stuff left and right that you would love if you spent time actually reading it and enjoying it for what it was. But instead, I'm having a ball though. I'm having a ball. BJ Kicks always makes me want to read more. Kudos. Thank you. That is I tend to have that trait. If there's anything I can do, I can convince people to do things that I love to do. It's a good thing I don't like doing drugs, right? Sean Gordon Murphy art is so dope. Yeah, that's why I bought that book. Sean Murphy's amazing. I'm having him on soon. I'm excited. Yo, I'd be excited too. I would be excited too. I got to make sure I tune into that one. Tris, I got to be honest with you. I was all in on your channel, and then like Johnny Depp went to court, and like every video was about Johnny Depp going to court, and I kind of like I'm definitely still subscribed, but I don't see your notifications anymore. Let's see what's going on. So I gotta tune back in to see what you've been up to lately. Because Johnny Depp's not in court anymore. So I'm sure you're talking about more comics now. But I've been crazy busy in the last 2 months too. I started a new job and it's kicking my butt. And that's why all I ever really get to do is this live stream. I don't even get to make videos as much anymore. It sucks. Understand, I dialed it back. Can't deny help my channel. I'm sure. I wish I had like a topic that like would just get me thousands of views every day. Like I would do that joint, whatever it was, every day, because that's how business works. We were just talking about that. You get caught up on firepower kicks? Not quite. I'm very close though. Very close. I started it over from the beginning, like literally from episode or from the prelude on. So I'm back up to where I left off when I was reading the singles. And yeah, I'm reading as much as I can digitally. But by the end of this weekend, I'll be caught up. Let's see. I don't even remember what I was talking about. I think I was supposed to be dialing it down. And then I got excited because some of my friends showed up. But nah, Skip, I really wanted to be caught up on firepower by the end of the day Monday. But Squeak being sick just threw a wrench in all of that. But I've been reading still. What issue am I on? I'm in the middle of volume 3 on whatever issue this is. So that's that. Let's talk about what's coming up. Bring them in with depth, get them to stay with the other stuff, huh? Word. Look, man, Controversy sells. And so, like, if you have a vested interest in a controversy, it's probably in your best interest to talk about said controversy because it'll get people, right? So, fun fact, I started Nerdette went all in on the trial. Word. But I did I started a sneaker channel like a month ago. And it was all because one of my homies was like, "Hey, like there's people making like fake sneakers, and they'll send them to you if you make a video about them." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll make like a video or two a month. That'll be a nice way to like, get the sneaker closet up. Because all I do is go to the grocery store, but it'd be cool to look fly going to the grocery store without spending a bunch of money." So I started this sneaker channel, and I made a video about like why fake sneakers are fake sneakers, right? Like they're not the real thing, and like you shouldn't try to pass them off as the real thing. That topic is quite controversial among sneakerheads. That video, let's see how many views that video has. Where are we at? I feel like an old man when I try to use technology quickly. All right. 26,000 views in 3 weeks. Like, if I knew I could talk about something and get 26,000 views every time I talked about it, I would absolutely talk about that thing as long as I cared about that thing, right? Because 26,000 views, that's how you make your money. I'm not making that money on this channel, but it's okay because if I make it somewhere else, I can spend it on comics. And that's all I want to do with this channel is have money to spend on comics and then spend it and then never get around to reading it because I'm so busy making money trying to spend it on comics. I need the Alex Ross Fantastic Four. Yeah, I ordered it on Amazon. I think it's supposed to be here like tomorrow because it didn't come today. I wasn't even going to buy it, but the art is just really good. I was thumbing through it, or I went through some of the art on the stream last week, and that's easily like best art of the year. Let's see. I'm also one of the most disliked in the community, so there's that. Haha, because I can't keep my mouth shut. Listen, man. Look, that it takes a whole different type of personality to deal with what you deal with, right? And all respect to you. I couldn't do it. I can't do it, right? This video is like a very rare step outside of my comfort zone. I'd much rather talk about comics than try to defend Afua Richardson's honor. But I just kind of felt like as one of the very few prominent black male voices, right? Like there's the whole protect black women thing. And I felt like I just need to kind of call out the hypocrisy and just the overall dumbness of this conversation. Like, and I mean, Jeff's here. Jeff talked about it. Jeff talked about it when we were streaming. And he was talking about how, like, there's this idea that somehow he's not qualified to do what he's doing in comics. And he had to jump through incredible hoops to be able to do what he's doing now. Like, the success he had to find outside of comics was like greater than any success most comics creators would ever find in any field. And yet, like, he's the one that gets called like a talented hack on YouTube or something. Like, what? Like, what? I think it's just dumb. I think it's dumb. I think it's all dumb. Like, for me to make like a video a day for like 3 months with a kid in the hospital, and then someone to be like, oh, he only got those views because he's black. Like, yo, what? Like, that's like Steph Curry only got in the NBA because he could make a 3-pointer. Like, yeah, of course he got in the NBA because he could make a 3-pointer. And that's not a good analogy because no, of course I didn't get popular on YouTube because I'm black. It's because I made a million videos. But hey, whatever. Whatever. Sneakerheads are passionate. I live in San. Yes, sneakerheads are very passionate. And there's levels to it as well, right? Because you got People who are like diehard Nike heads, people who are diehard Jordan heads, people who will wear anything but Nike and Jordan because they don't want to be looked at as hype beasts, and people who hate hype beasts. And there's a lot. There's a lot of levels of sneakers. And yeah, it's a big community. It's a lot bigger now than it was when I was into sneakers, and it's always been pretty big. Pretty big. But yeah, comics are dope. It's so nice to be in the presence of greatness. Are you excited for Static in the Shadow of Something Something? Static, Shadows of Dakota, aka the book formerly known as Static Season 2. Yes, I'm very excited. This is written by Vita Ayala and Nick Draper Ivey, and Nick Draper Ivey is going to be doing the art. And I'm excited for it. I love Criss Cross on art. Like Criss Cross on Jeff Thorne's Blood Syndicate, amazing. Criss Cross and Criss Cross basically penciling for Nick Draper Ivey, their styles were just kind of incompatible at points, and it was kind of jarring at times going from like having them split duties on the Static book. So I'm excited to see like, what the book will look like just done by Nick. And with him contributing to the story, I think that's just going to be dope. I think it's going to be dope. But yes, I'm excited for Static in the Shadow of Something, Something, Something. Oh, yo, I found, this is my Static card from the collector's version of Static #1. And I found it, and I replaced my other Static card that doesn't have like cool like foil on it. See, these two are different very slightly, but I got this one on display. My man Steven's a big Milestone fan too, so I figured he would enjoy that. I also put the Virgil card over there too, because why not? Now I gotta put this back on display. There we go. I love comics. It doesn't surprise me that humans would rather talk about and listen to all the drama within comics, but contents between the front and back covers don't get talked about enough. Look, man, I get it because, the content between the covers is largely unimportant to people, except us, right? And so the chances of someone who's a non-comic fan watching a video reviewing Batman 127, right? Those are minimal. A video about DC Comics revealing the name of the Joker and how that's so controversial, that's gonna get viewed all day, and it's gonna get viewed by people that don't care about comics. And if your goal is to get views, that's a way to do it. So I don't knock anyone for it. I just hate when the conversation becomes like something more than just, hey, I'm doing this for views, or it's just like, I like this thing and you're not allowed to like this thing because you're not me. It's dumb. It's dumb. I mean, look at all the videos getting made and watched of Acetate Gate. Right. Because comic book retailer's wife leaves comic book retailer for comic book artist that works for comic book retailer is a fascinating story. That is drama that you can't buy on TV. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Absolutely, it's going to get views. I'm not immune. I watched a video about it. Like, wait, what? With the popcorn and all. People appeal to our basest instincts, and we're suckers for going for it. But I'm not immune. Draper's going to kill it. Word. He's been killing it, and I think he's going to kill it even more. Did you see the cover he posted? He posted his cover for issue 3, and it is Ebon holding Static up on like marionette strings. It's a great cover. If I wasn't broke, I'd try to buy it. But also, Nick does digital work, so it's not the same as like buying like real original art, because he could just print another one. But I still want to buy the print though. I'm from Dade, LOL. Yeah, man, it's definitely watched a bunch on acetate. Yeah. Listen, man, it's fascinating. There's a reason reality TV is the biggest thing in the world. People like escaping into other people's drama. They just do. Get woke, I go broke. Word. I really hate the term woke, and I hate that it's been co-opted. Hi guys, I finished reading Sweet Tooth and joined the stream. Word. That's what's up. That's what's up. Comics is greater than kicks. I like both. If we're just looking at like what takes up more space in my house, then I guess I agree. I was a sneakerhead before I was a comic nerd, though. Sneakers are way more expensive than comics, and so comics are more fun or easier to get into. I'd probably put comics over sneakers as well. But over myself? No, of course not. I'm better than comics. Do you think Michael B. Jordan will draw from the original Milestone universe or use a fresh take, and which would you prefer? I think there's so much richness in the original Dakota universe, like that. Look, you can absolutely you can draw as much as you need to draw from it. And I think today's like world where everything has to be grim and gritty would play well into what the old Dakota universe was. And even still is. Like the new Dakota universe isn't like it's not like a sanitized version at all. It yeah. So my answer is I would hope that they would draw from the original stuff. But I think like if you do it right, like even if what you're referencing is the new stuff still has the spirit of the old stuff. Like it's all the same stuff. Like so you can't really go wrong. Can't really go wrong. Yeah, I do hate how they co-opted woke. Yeah, it's so I hate it. I hate it. Especially when the idea of being woke just means you're inclusive, just means you aren't an exclusionary jerk. Yeah. And while we're at it, I hate the term identity politics and I hate the term virtue signaling because all of that is just good business and marketing. Like that is positioning in business. And also, you saying you hate virtue signaling is a virtue signal. While we're ranting against things that, people say online to flex on people. All right, have a good night. I need to hit the sheets. I have to get up early. Thanks for being here, Valen Rook. I don't recognize your name. I don't know if it was your first time here, but if it was, thanks for joining. Hope I didn't scare you away, and I hope to see you next time on the Hangout next Thursday at 7. Internet algorithms promote negative takes to maximize clicks and money. That's why I only promote the positive cuts. Word. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. B-Flex 1. I pretty much bought and enjoyed all the sneakers I wanted to. I had a mean streak from 2014 to 2015 where I bought like everything. Like I bought so much stuff and then it was just like I'm never wearing these shoes because I work a corporate job. I can't even wear sneakers during the week. And I go to church on Sunday and they're frowned upon there too. So the only place I'm ever wearing any of these sneakers is the grocery store. Now it's the grocery store and the comic shop. Why am I spending this money on sneakers? So I stopped. Facts, there's a lot of dog whistling. Very disturbing. Yeah. Positioning is just good business. Like Angel Soft is the ideal balance of softness and strength. Right? Right. Because we know that some people like their toilet paper really strong. And some people like it really soft. And some people need an ideal balance. I'm not talking to you if you need it too strong or not, right? I need, you know what I'm saying? Like I need the ideal balance. And so this is who we're talking to. Like brand positioning has always been a thing. That's why, like, some people are diehard Pepsi fans, some people are diehard Coke fans, and some people even like soda, right? Like, there's just I don't get I don't get people just making up things to be mad at. Mateo says, is the Thorne identity in the chat the Jeff Thorne? That is, unless it's a really good Jeff Thorne impersonator, which I don't know. I haven't seen any of those on the streets, but it's possible. Exactly. I don't be wearing them. I just bought them for nostalgia and appreciation of the style. Word. My wife is watching the stream and she's like, "What are you talking about?" Because I guess because I just went on a rant about toilet paper. So how do you balance life and creating such dope content? I don't. My life is very unbalanced. I'm either creating dope content or I'm living life or some horrible mixture of the two. Like I don't balance anything. You know how I do it? I don't read comics as often as I would like to. I don't go places, or I do. Sometimes I do go places and I enjoy my life. And then like I come back home and I'm like, oh snap, I'm way behind on videos. Like my calendar over there are 1, 2, 3, 4 videos that were supposed to be out in the month of September, and only 2 of them came out, and they were the new comic book day videos. And the other 2 are this episode of the Hangout that you're watching and last week's episode of the Hangout. My video about Black superhero power rankings isn't out yet. My video of showing my milestone collection isn't out yet. My video review of Naomi season 2, the comic, isn't out yet. Spoiler alert. Naomi season 2 was amazing, and that's a shame. That's the name of the video. So, yeah. What? The Jeff Throne? Got excited and spelled it wrong in the chat. Word. But yeah, so I don't really balance things. I'm trying to learn a good balance, but I'm finding that life is not meant to be balanced. It's just meant to be lived. So one week I might have a sick toddler, and other weeks I don't have a sick toddler and the babysitter is working, and it's all good, and I have a day to create content. I just like making videos. So I find time to make videos when I can. But making videos and reading comics are 2 entirely different hobbies, and I like them both. And so I have to choose, especially now with my new day job. I have to like choose which of my hobbies I'm going to indulge in. Am I going to just take an afternoon and read comics? Am I going to take an afternoon and talk about something on camera? Am I going to take an afternoon and prepare to talk about something on camera? And, you know, whichever one wins, wins. And you get what you get. Rule number 1 of marketing is to get more sales. Need to grow your business. Who don't like extra money? Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing that got discounted when that dude accused me of only being big because I'm Black. Like, I got a whole marketing degree, and I literally consult with people on how to grow their businesses and their social media accounts for a living. And so that was insulting, and I was just saving smoke for that dude. I hope that dude was watching. Just started making videos of myself. Finding time is a key. Would you ever create videos where you read us comics? And like, no, I would never create videos where I read the comics and change voices. No. What? But you know who does? My man Dominic from the Comic Book Report. He does comic book reviews, and at the beginning of every review, he does like a little excerpt, like just a few lines of dialogue from the book. He does pretty good voices. Like if it's a Batman book, it's like, I am Gotham and I love it. Right? Like he does that. But no, you won't find that here. Blood Syndicate is a milestone book I'm reading every month, and I'm sitting here in a chat with dude from Blood Syndicate. Yo, Blood Syndicate is like that. Blood Syndicate is dope. I told you, I put on my Twitter, I buy Blood Syndicate like 4 times a month. I buy the digital, so I don't have to wait to go to the shop. I buy the cover A and the cover B, and if there's a ratio, I buy that too. There's no reason to buy that many copies of a book, but I really like it, so I do. And yo, we only got 2 issues left. I'm really excited to see what's going to come of them. But Aqua Maria in the last issue, I think, was my favorite part of the issue. Ha 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 ha. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not doing voices. Well, look, guys, it's 9 o'clock. I think we were able to end the stream on a sort of a high note. My daughter's watching me on YouTube and says hi. Hey, Squeak. I'm waving. Now she's going to wave at the phone. I sometimes do a Batman voice in my videos. It's rare, but it happens. Tech 9 and Wise Son are my favorite. My favorite from the original series was Wise Son. And I enjoy Tech 9 as well. Tech 9 was my favorite before he died. Spoiler alert for a 30-year-old book. Tech 9 died. He's not dead yet in this series, though. I am enjoying him. But yeah. So I'm glad we were able to end this on a high note because I just ended up ranting about gatekeepers and dumb internet buzzwords for like the last 30 minutes. You're selling most of the OG Blood Syndicate, by the way. Why is that? Why is that? I'm assuming because you have duplicates of it. Later, y'all. Definitely looking forward to more comic book talk next go round. Drama stream should get you some solid. Yeah, nah. Definitely more comic talk next time around as well. Jeff, know that I agree with your take that Charmcaster should have been redeemed in Ben 10. Word. That's dope. I'm just keeping this up just long enough for Jeff to acknowledge this. That's funny. So yes, you made Jeff's day. I'm glad you guys were able to meet each other on this stream. 5 and 6 are going to be sick. I believe it. I don't even talk about Blood Syndicate on the show because I can't talk about it without spoiling it, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But please read it. When issue 6 comes out, I'm going to do a whole spoiler-filled review, and that's going to be fun. So the original issue where Tech 9 dies at half-price books. Word. Bizarro Fett. Reminds me I need to dig back into my milestone compendium. Do that. Look. We're at the 2-hour mark. I'm rambling. I've enjoyed streaming with you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show and the new format. Next week, we're going to talk more about comics. I haven't picked a topic for next week, but I promise it won't be as incendiary as this one. I'm going to see you guys in another video soon. Until then, hope you enjoyed the stream. Hope you saw something you liked. And if not, hey, that's cool. You can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy and be nice to others, because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.